All right. Hello, everybody, my friends from all over the world. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon from different places that you're at. In fact, we have a young lady from a country in Europe called Lithuania. Okay, so she has been working in the university there, and her name, Dr. Vaida, I don't know if I pronounce it right, Saravesine, joined the environmental engineering faculty at this university called Vilnius Tech. Actually, its long name is Vilnius Gediminas Technical University. And she joined there in 2008. And then in 2012, what I lost the screen. Okay, she defended her PhD in environmental engineering and started working as a lecturer in environmental protection and water engineering department. So he uses different teaching methods in the subjects which he's teaching. Now, many of you in this audience, I'm sure, are familiar with the concept of a flipped classroom. So she will talk to us today about her successful implementation of the flipped classroom in a subject called clean technologies, which is again very important subject for the whole world because of climate change. It's a very important subject. So I want to thank her for joining us from Lithuania and welcome her to this presentation. And with that, I'm going to get back and let her take it over, okay? So I'm going to turn off my screen and you're ready to go.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. Thank you. Good morning and good afternoon, because we don't know from which side you are connected. So thank you, Professor Krishna and IESS for organizing such an international event. And thank you for inviting my university and me to present this topic and our experience. And as Professor Krishna already introduced me, so I'm Vaida Šerevičienė, and my topic today is application of the flipped classroom method, the case of Vilnus Tech. So I will present our experience, me and my colleagues, how we implemented this technique in the engineering subject and other subjects as well. But if you are familiar with this technique, so you know that this is active method. So today I also will use during my presentation active methods one, and so I will use one application. It's class point. So you need to go to use to class point app or just scan this QR code and join my class. So because I will ask some questions and you will be able to interact with me. So as I can see here is Vaida, it's my first, it's I connected, and there is already Natalia connected. So please join this app and you will be able to interact with me. Okay, thank you. And during all presentation, you will be able to see this screen in the upper corner, and we can see how many people are connected. And if you just turn off or forgot, you can just connect during the presentation. So I will wait a little bit because I can see that attendees are a bit more than 10. So please connect and we will be able to start with ice-breaking question and warm up a little bit our atmosphere. And then we will go on with this topic.
Aliki, can you see the whole screen? I'm not able to see her whole screen.
I'm able to see it, Dr. Krishna, yes.
You can see the whole screen?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so we can go to the question. And so the first question will be, from which continent you are connected? So I will launch the possibilities to submit. And now you can choose from those possible answers, and we will see how many and from which region you are. So what kind of, from which region all listeners are now connected. Okay, as I can see, there are from Asia and Africa and also Europe. And if you are not familiar with this application, it's a tool which you can install in the PowerPoint. So it is quite useful, and we can see how many answers is already, how many people are answered. So we can see live how many answered and who isn't still, who didn't do that, and we can stop. So, okay, I think that we can maybe in the other question, in other couple of questions will be more active listeners, but now we can just close a submission and see the result. Already you can see the result that it is now 10 participants are from Asia and 6 from Europe and a couple of from America. Of course, maybe not all are connected to this app, but you will be able to do in the next also slides. So now the question is from which country you are, because I asked about the continent. Now I'm asking about country. And this is, it will be word cloud. So we will see particular all countries. Oh, I can see from Lithuania, probably it's my colleagues. Thank you, colleagues, for joining. India the most, Turkey, United States of America, Argentina. Okay, so thank you for your answers. Let's go to the next question. And the next question will be, so I am from Lithuania. So do you know where is Lithuania? And the same choices about the continent. Do you know in which continent there is Lithuania? Okay, probably you all know, or maybe you guess, because there are Lithuanian people, they answered faster, so you can just click the same and you will see that yes, it's a Europe. So, and I will very shortly, and a couple of sentences, will introduce my country and my university. So Lithuania is in the northeast side of Europe. You can see here from the Europe map, and the capital is Vilnius, and it's a very beautiful and small but very beautiful and country, and our capital here is our old town, our Gedimino castle, and of course our beautiful nature. It's a lot of forests in our country, and so you can come and see this. And also about some facts about our university. It's Vilnius Gediminas Technical University, and abbreviation would be Vilnus Tech, and our university was established in 1956, and we have more than 8,000 students, and more than 800 academic staff are working with them, and 88,000 of alumni, and we collaborate with business partners and of course other partners universities from different countries. And as you can see from this from this slide that it's in our university, it's of course, because we are a technological university, it's more subjects in engineering science, in informatics science, and so all subjects and almost quite a lot of subjects in which we implemented this, our technique, this method of flipped classroom is also in engineering. And you can hear that sometimes it's this method is more suitable for social science, but we can say that no, we can do that and in engineering and technological subjects as well. So if we talk about traditional lecture, how would you express what is traditional lecture? Of course, we think and we imagine the professor standing in front of the audience and he's giving a lecture. Maybe he's using some slides, PowerPoint or some material, but he's giving his class oral presentation and he express his knowledge during the class. But if we think about our memory, we can say that if we are just sitting passively and listening to our professor or other lecturer, only 10% of we remember of what we read, and only 20% we remember of what we hear. And of course, if we see, so it's a bit more, it's a 30%. And if we combine this, what we see and what we hear, so it will be 50%. But what if we were active, not passive listeners, but active, and we would do different activities during our lectures? So then the numbers could be even more. It's 70% of what we discuss with others we can remember. We can remember 80% of what we personally experience, and even 95% if we put into a practice or we teach others. If we just we do the same presentations or we teach our group mates and so on. So that's why we came up with this flipped classroom method. And so what is it? What is this method? So if we have theoretical lectures and homework, so in just simple way, we can say that these lectures and these parts are swapped. So although there is no single model of flipped classroom, usually it's characterized by course structure. It means that instructional content like presentations or recorded presentations or recorded video is assigned as homework before coming to class. And at the same time, in the class time is then spent working on problems, advancing concept, and engaging in collaboration. Removing the instructional content from in-class time allows the instructor, lecturer, or professor more time for one-on-one engagement with individual students. So, of course, it will be more discussion and more time spent with students. So then it comes active learning, and in active learning, students goes in the center, and around him you can put lecturer, content, and other. In this place, other, we could say that it is it is environment, for example, when you spend time in the class or maybe online. It is very in nowadays when it's pandemic, when we have a lot of time to spend online, and last year it was all our lectures online, so it is very important also part of the active learning. And in active learning places the student at the center of the lecture's objectives and its outcomes. And students in these lectures are not only engaged in learning, but also involved in cognitive process such as comprehension and evaluation. And this process then translates into improved and deeper learning, better grades, and lower failure rates. So usually it is better outcome if we are talking about grades, about knowledge, and so on. So if we compare teaching method, which is different, teachers orientated and students orientated, of course it will be different. And if we talk about teachers orientated teaching method, so it will be students, they are passive. The teacher structures, controls the content, pace and learning rhythm during the lecture. And the goal is knowledge, and of course its reliability is not debatable. The knowledge is not debatable, but still it is only teacher presented and students are just passive listening. When it is students oriented method, then students have to be active. They focus on this method focus on the opinion and perspective of the student, and teachers are only helpers. They help, maybe they direct the students to a good direction, but and also the goal is not only knowledge but also learning strategies. So in the teachers oriented method, usually it is lectures, demonstrations, teacher leading exercise, while in the students oriented method, it is usually during the class should be case studies, cooperative learning, project training, discussion, debates, and it's a lot of different activities which could be implemented during the lecture. So if we compare between traditional method and flipped classroom, we can split all this method into such different periods, like before the lecture, during the lecture, and after the lecture. While we were implementing this method, we also divided these. It was 3 steps. I will explain later. But it's also there are different tasks before the lecture, during the lecture, and after, and they are different in different activities you have to do. So if we compare between traditional method and flipped classroom, so before the lecture, usually in traditional method, the students can read something before the educational content, but of course usually we don't do that. While the teacher prepares the theoretical presentation of the content. In the flipped classroom, students visualize the explanations of the content to be worked on in class previously prepared by the teacher. So teacher prepares and students have to watch, to read, or to do some activities before the class. And at the same time, the teacher generates and prepares practical activities and class dynamics for the next meeting. If we go to the next one, during the lecture, so in this period, in traditional lecture method, the students listen to the theoretical explanation of a teacher who does not use any sources, innovative sources. Of course, it can be used, as I said, maybe some PowerPoint slides, but still there is not so much interactive with discussion with students. And the teacher has an active attitude since it is the only source of knowledge, while the students is passive. And in the flipped classroom, the students develop dynamics and practical activities during the class. And in this case, the teacher supervises, advises, or corrects the action developed by the students. The students has an active attitude, while the teacher is passive in the learning process. Last is after the lecture period. So in the traditional method, it is the students complete homework set by teacher based on the theoretical explanation given at school during the classes, during the maybe online lectures, and the teacher continues to prepare the theoretical presentation for the next time. While in the flipped classroom, students reinforce what they have learned in the class by putting into the practice the activities developed and analyzing the theoretical videos on the content covered, because the content is in the system electronic, and he can come back and see and watch again and maybe to remember something. And the teacher continues to prepare explanatory videos and work dynamics to develop in the class for the next time as well. So, of course, these methods have advantages, and every teacher, every lecturer can find their own advantages, but in general, I can say some of them. The teacher spends more time on contact, not on the layout of the material. The teacher can devote more time for the individual needs of the student. Also, students can have open discussion with each other and with the lecturer. As well as students are encouraged to work in a group, think, ask questions, more discussion. Also, students can choose the place, time, and pace of learning by themselves. And students' involvement and responsibility for their own learning outcomes are encouraged. And also, students are making progress usually, and they find some interesting information while they are doing different activities, and it is very good for them. But this method also have challenges. So, of course, if we're talking about challenges, they can be from students' perspective and from teachers' perspective. So, but sometimes students may be unmotivated and unprepared, usually at the beginning of applying this method, or maybe poorly prepared. So it is also can be just a bit barrier to work normally. Also, students are not used to working independently, and the material must be carefully prepared. So it can take more time to prepare the material to do it more attractive for the students, and the teacher needs to be creative to prepare engaging material and tasks. And of course, there can be technical barriers because sometimes if you are using a lot different softwares, applications, and you need to do it on the class, so it could be a technical barrier that you can't do that. So now I will, it was a short introduction about this method, and now I will say and I will tell how we did, and how we started. So our initiator of this active method was Academic Support Center. They invited teachers, lecturers to implement this method to start doing in our university. So it started 2 years ago. In 2019-2020 years, it was 2 lectures and 2 subjects. It was a pilot project, so they had to do prepared activities, then had to do reflections, improvement, and later they spread the knowledge, and they were consulting us and so on. So the next year, 2020-2021, it was last year, it was 7 lectures and 8 subjects. So me personally, I also started doing this in that second year, and so it was I was invited by my colleague to try this method, and I joined this project. And this year we also spread this information, and we wanted that more lecturers, more professors, and our staff would use this. And so this year it was 18 lecturers and 20 subjects. So we had some seminars and training before and during the whole semester, and it was comprehensive support from Academic Support Center, and it was support and the consultations from educational researchers. They advised us how to implement which methods, because we had to use active methods. We had to do something during our classes. As well, electronic learning specialists, they were very also useful and very informative for us. They showed how to use, of course, we are using Moodle, but maybe as our colleagues said, that it's more a lot of PDF files there, but it could be more useful, this Moodle and this electronic system. So we started using other tools, which is very useful, and it's, our students, they are very happy that they can do different things even in the Moodle, not only download PDF files, but even there to do something. And also during whole process, we had some seminars with our psychologists, just how to work with students, and especially in this pandemic period, so it was also useful for us. And now I want to show in what subjects and faculties this method was implemented. Because if you are trying to search for information, it's a lot of information about flipped classroom, but usually it is more about social field, social sciences, but not engineering science, not engineering field. So, but we knew that we can do that, and we started from, as I mentioned before, with 2 subjects and 2 lecturers, and later we invited more lecturers, and as you can see, it is a lot of different subjects, from aviation English till design of artificial organs, and different management technologies, and so on. And here you can see also that it can be implemented in various levels of it, also in bachelor studies and master studies, and in all courses from the 1st till the 4th course, and as well as master. And as we were spreading this information, and we were quite happy, and we just provided this message that it's very good and you can implement. So then, as I told before, it was 18 lecturers and 20 subjects, and it's even almost from, I think, from all faculties, from civil engineering, transport engineering, mechanics, business management, and so on. So, but how we did that? We just, this flipped classroom implemented as we used as a system. It means that those who step in, who wanted to use it, they had to do all steps. It means that first it was a planning step, then it was implementation, and at the end it was assessment. And I will show a little bit about these all steps. So first it was planning. So what does it mean? It means that we all had to write a plan for our semester. Of course, not not everyone could to plan all semester in advance. It means it means that you have, if you are using this flipped classroom, all the material which you had before, you put in the system for homework for students, and you have to come up with new activities, new ideas, new tasks. So it's quite, you need to put quite a lot of work to that. So we had a planning process. Of course, during all process, our academic support center, they were consulting us. We had meetings and consultations and seminars, so they helped us to do and maybe not to be afraid to do that. So here is a couple of examples of these plans. It wasn't strict plans. All lecturers could write and in more detailed or less detailed view, but it still had to be planned before. So of course you have to show for academic support center, and they can just advise you maybe what to do or how to do, so you have to show for them. Then it goes implementation process. What does it mean? It also can be separate into different into different parts. It is implementation in the Moodle system. It means that you have to put information in the Moodle for the watching, for the preparing before, and also you have to do some activities in the classroom. And here is some examples of what was in Moodle, in Moodle system in different subjects. And so our academic support center, they encourage us to use more different tools in the Moodle. So it is, for example, here it is created a book, not just PDF file put, but it's a book, also some videos. If you are familiar with this H5P tool, so it is it can be done interactive video, self-evaluation tests, and so on. Later I will just a little bit also introduce this tool, but it's very useful, very convenient to use and to do your Moodle environment more attractive. And here is other examples. This one is in Lithuanian, but you can see that for one topic, it is different kind of tasks, different kind of forms of what you have to do, or to put some information, or to download and do something. So it is also maybe for students is more interesting and more attractive when it's different. And here is also one example of how teacher, it wasn't strict that you have to do in one way. Every teacher had the possibility to work in his way and to see how it looks for maybe for their students. So some of them just write what you need to do, and here is H5 interactive also video, and some tasks which have to be done. And here is, for example, be ready for Kahoot game. It's already also written that you will have a Kahoot game during the class. And now I will go to the next part. It's active teaching method implementation, and here will be examples. But first, it will be a question for you. Again, you can again you have to answer the questions. So the question will be, the question is, what active teaching methods do you use in your lectures, or you use in lectures, or you use in the if you are a student, maybe your teacher are using, or maybe you not using, but you are familiar with some of these methods. Mind mapping, yes. What else? Maybe you know, or mind mapping we also are using. So we will I will give some traditional, yes, project-based learning, case studies, Think, Peer, Share, Jigsaw, Slido, quiz, virtual labs, group studies on a scenario problem, quizzes using Mentimeter. Okay, so some of them I will also I will give an example as we used, but as you can see, some of you really using, and maybe even more you can see. And if we were able to share the information between us, so we will also hear something new, and it's very useful to share information and the knowledge. Okay, so thank you for your opinion, for your information. And so let's go to our couple of examples. So, for example, here was project-based learning. It's a group work, circular economy, business idea, and so we have to come up with business idea in a group and to present. This one was very interesting because these students are Erasmus students, so they came from different countries and they have different, they are studying in different fields. So it was very interesting. They all share their own knowledge, they own what they know. So it was very interesting activity. Here is also examples of mind mapping. So you already, some of them you know. So it can be implemented in any kind of tasks. Just it can be very useful for students. And here was relations of sustainability goals. And here is also mind mapping, but using different applications. So if you are doing if you have a class in the contact at university in your school, so you can use drawing by hand. So it is also very convenient, very interesting for students because they almost nothing do by hand now. They everything doing on the laptops, on the mobile phones. So sometimes it is very interesting. But also you can use it, of course, different apps. So also it was, for example, to visualize in the infographic given information. So they have to read information. They have to decide which is most important, which you want to include in the infographic. And also they are using, for example, Canva. So they are just developing different skills and, for example, how to use different programs. And here is also, it was a game. So it's very good to use different game simulations. So this was a simulation about the energy sources grid. And so they had to work in groups and to come up with best solution for economic and environmental solution for choosing the different energy sources. And here is also they had to create and compare technological and biological life cycles and to present for different products these technological and biological cycles. So it was also quite interesting to work them and to use different cards and the tools. And here is mobile application and interactive tools, which I also included in this presentation. So if you are using Moodle, so it is very useful. H5P interactive content you can create. So, and here is some of examples. Even there are more examples, and students like very much of such interactive video presentations, quizzes, and so on, because they all life is so fast. So they want to, and while they are studying, they want to be also more engaged, more interactive. So that's why it is very very convenient to do that. And here is some apps which you can use also. So this one, the class point, is which one that I use now today for interaction with you during my presentation. But also some of you mentioned you can do it using a different kind of mobile applications or some softwares or some web pages. So just you have to find which is the best for you and do that. And so the next step in our system implementation was assessment process. it means that we we asked students to fill a survey feedback after the first month, after second or third, and at the end of semester. So why we were doing such about the same method? Because and it was very interesting that these surveys, these feedbacks were different. It means that at the beginning they maybe not all was very happy and about this method, but at the end more students found that it's very useful and it was very interesting for them. Here are some examples and how they answered. But of course, it wasn't also very strict to use the same template, the same questions. Teachers could just correct a little bit to do a little bit different, but the questions were almost the same. But of course, most interesting questions was the last one, those two last. It was about name the advantages of flipped classroom and name of disadvantages of this flipped classroom. And as you can see, some of them, it was very interesting that, of course, I'm happy that it was more advantages of students. They wrote about mostly about group work, that they were active, that they could implement different, it was interesting to work in a group, it was interesting to do something different, collaborate, deepening knowledge, and different their feedbacks. But also they mentioned and disadvantages. So some of them wrote that there is no disadvantages, so they were happy 100%. But still, some of them wrote that it's a little bit time consuming. And it was also one of them interesting that it's we are always engaged in classwork, so it is a little bit exhausting. So maybe it was the main point that they have to work in the class, not to spend the time in the mobile phones, but they have to work. But for some of students, there was a little bit maybe issues to present in front of the class, maybe to collaborate with something. But all the time, you need to watch how how students are working. Maybe you can change a little bit activity or change groups, so it could be better for them also. And in sum up, if I want to conclude, it is my last slide, that we also had three different parts: before lecture, during the lectures, and after. So before the lectures, we have to prepare a plan, to prepare material for students to put in the Moodle system, and to prepare for the task activities for the during the class, the lecture. Then we go to the second step. When we come to our lectures, we perform those activities, tasks, and we have to use different methods, active methods, and of course we have to give feedback for our students regarding those activities, because if they don't get the feedback, they are less motivated to do again in next time. So they just don't want to do that. So you have to give feedback, good or bad. You have to explain. If it's not so good, you have to explain how to do correctly. Or if it's good, of course, you need to cheer up them and to go to the next one. And so after the lecture, it was a survey feedback from the students. We are asked. Of course, we had every month meeting with colleagues and academic support center, and we had the discussions about our issues and good experience. We just shared our experience between colleagues, how they did, how they implemented. And it was a seminar at the end of fall semester. We spread for all community that information about advantages and challenges of this method. But still, and we encourage to come to this to use this method to come up with, to step in our project and to do also the same or what we did. And as I said, we're inviting colleagues to step in the next semester to do and to start. So here it is, the last one slide. I am asking for you. Of course, it was very brief and short introduction in this and how our experience. So how do you feel after this webinar about this information? It was interesting. It was okay. I learned new things. I already using this method, or nothing new I haven't heard here during this presentation. Okay, I can see that you can. It was interesting for you. Of course, when you are launching such feedback, sometimes you can get a not very good feedback, but all feedback is very useful for you. Maybe you can change something. So all the time, don't forget, ask students of their feedback. As I can see that it was interesting, also it was okay, and you learned some things new, so okay, thank you very much. And I will close this submission.
Very good. Excellent presentation there.
Okay, and that's it. This is my presentation.
Thank you so much, Vaida. We have got a few questions, a few minutes for interaction. So thank you so much. It was very interesting. I was particularly impressed that in 3 years you went from pilot with 2 lecturers and then to more than almost 20 lecturers. That was very impressive. So Hans had a good question. What is the role of the psychologist? The psychologist.
Sorry, can you repeat?
Yeah, see, in your team, you showed during the preparation of the teachers, psychology. What is the role of the psychologist?
So we have a psychologist in the university, and they are giving seminars and lectures of how to deal with stress, how to deal with maybe unmotivated students and so on. So it wasn't very much in this particular project, but it's also very useful. And in this case, when it was pandemic, it was also very informative information that they gave for us.
Another question has to do with different types of subjects, technical subjects versus social science. Which is easier for flipped classroom, technical subject or social science?
I think that it is it can be implemented in any subject. It is only on the lecturer how he will do it, and so it is only on what method you will use, and so it can be implemented in any, and so it only depends on the lecturer.
Okay, very good. How about you need a lot of support from the administration? So how do you convince your administration to give you support?
But administration, they invited us to do that. So we've got a support. And of course, if it will be like a normal routine for some, then maybe it will be just some technical support, but we get support in all and psychological and support how to do it, and even in other parts we've got the support.
But if the administration is not like your administration, maybe what can I present to my administration?
To administration that it is why it is good and why you need to use.
Right.
Yes.
How to present that?
It means we can show from our example, we can show our students feedback. They are very engaged. They are very they like this. So why not? Of course, some maybe some of administration can be a bit maybe not so supportive, but you can all the time show how students are really happy of doing this. So I think that it can be a good example.
So one motivated faculty, one motivated teacher can start the process and then demonstrate and show
Yes.
it to the administration. So they will
Yes.
support more faculty to do it, right?
Yes.
Is
So
that how you started? Yes.
In our case, it was very similar, that two lecturers started. Even one lecturer was a member of academic support center. So she started and she invited, for example, and me, and I invited other couple of my colleagues. So we are just spreading the information, and that it could be very useful for our students.
So this other question has to do with you are in the environmental studies department and clean technologies. So how did this method help you assist in sustaining the environment, helping students become more aware of the sustaining environment?
Yeah, it just the information which I was given for students. We just had the same information, but they did in the different way. They used different activities, and I don't know, they were happy because feedback was good. So this implementation I'm using also started implementing this method in other my subjects, in sustainable environment, in the prevention of pollution. So I think that it can be implemented, and it is useful for all in all cases.
How did you convince other lecturers?
You know, it's not, you don't have to convince. We are showing what we did. We are showing feedback. And also, for example, personally, me, and I think and others, we inviting not all lecturers. I invited those lecturers which I know they already have implemented some active method. So that's why it would be quite easy for them. Maybe it is a lot work before the semester, but they are active. They're using innovative teaching methods. So it's not like convince. You have just to invite them, and they are happy.
Yeah, I think if you are enthusiastic and enjoying, then they will see. They also want to be enjoying and enthusiastic. Good, excellent, very good. So that is good. Good job, excellent. I think all the participants enjoyed your presentation. Hans, would you like to make some comments?
Thank you very much. I was very much inspired, Professor Vaida, by not only the substance, but your enthusiasm, and this kind of spirit, this kind of encouragement is critical, and I'm quite impressed, by the way. I really want to thank you. Let me just, on behalf of our IFES, GDC, and IUCE community that has been hosting these webinars, we are grateful, Professor Vaida. You're the first serious professor from Lithuania that is giving this presentation. I hope we can use this as a springboard to encourage other colleagues in Lithuania, but also in your neighboring countries, as you know, where I have very close relationships with. I'm just really very pleased. Everybody knows that your presentation is recorded. It will be on our website. And I'd like to explore with you, other colleagues, possibly another webinar, let's say over the next 6 months, and I want to be in touch with you. As something related to our global community, we are very pleased to just recently have published our 3rd and 4th editions of Rising to the Top books, editions written by engineering women leaders in both India and Africa. And it's on our website. You can link and purchase it. And absolutely, I'm reading both of those books at this particular moment, and it's simply inspiring. I'm very privileged to have the chance to work closely with good friends in those two parts of the world. The final comment is I want to just plant the seed. We are working with our friends and colleagues to prepare for our global conference this November in Cape Town, South Africa. very important, the engagement not only of faculty and of course academic leaders and our corporate colleagues, but the engagement of students. I would love to see the engagement, but either virtually or better even in person. We hope to be in person there, of students from your university or from other in your country and neighboring countries per se. And let me know any questions. Do get in touch with us. And many thanks again, Professor Vaida, for your very thoughtful, very inspiring presentation. Thank you kindly. Peace be with you, and above all, stay healthy, all of you, please.
Thank you, Professor Vaida. Thank you all the participants who have joined from various parts of the world. So everybody be happy, be peaceful, be healthy. Thank you again, and goodbye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.